everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Fazila, you're tuning into Fazila Reads. Today's video is going to be a dedicated book review for The Beckoning of the Gate by Benjamin J. Ryan. It's the first book in the Vayillian Threads series. This book has a stunning cover and really draws you in effortlessly with all that colors and creatures and the epicness of the imagery. Now the real question is, did the content of the book deliver as well? I'm happy to say it did. This was such an immersive and atmospheric read that I wish to continue on this journey even after finishing the book and want to learn more about the world and all the creatures. So, the book is divided into three parts. The prologue actually reminded me of the invisible life of Addie LaRue in some ways, with the scene having that very similar vibe and feel to it. So, the story is set in the world of Saratora. Our MC Santa Latakin is an ordinary girl who loves her goats, takes care of them, and pretty much lives a quiet life with her family in their small cottage. A terrible thing happens to Santa, and she becomes fodder for gossip in her valley. Despite her trying to talk to her family about the horrific events that happened to her, she feels isolated and decides to leave her family home. She gets taken into Danden's home. He's the valley's teacher and he becomes her mentor and her friend from there onwards. And he becomes a big support to her through all the ordeal, especially with valley folks. One day, as she was tending to her goats and taking care of them, the youngest darts into the forest surrounding her home, and as she goes to find the kid, she comes across a old key. She feels drawn to it for some reason and decides to take it. And after taking the key, her life as she knew it gets turned upside down. Santa realizes all the stories she heard growing up about the eldritch magic and creatures are turning out to be true. And not only that, these creatures have come back after such a long time, they're also threatening her valley. So Santa has to leave the valley to protect the people from the eldritch creatures. Also, there is an undeniable pull for her and also the key towards somewhere north. So, the beginning of the book deals with introducing Santa and establishing her situation in the valley, and also giving us a glimpse into her life and relationship dynamics with different people around her. Now, as she leaves the valley, it marks her journey into the second part of the story. So the second leg of the journey is much more faster paced than the first part. Also, we get to see a little bit of action and progress in her character. With a lot of character development and different sacrifices that Santa has to make in order to proceed in her quest, the new places and the creatures she gets to meet, the world is opened up further. As she goes on this quest to find the source of the pull, we get to see her grow and learn more about the world she is in. Reality has settled fully for Santa now, and so she realizes that there is so much more to the world and there is so much more at stake than what she initially thought. Now, the third part of the book has so much more action and is also much more faster paced than the other two parts. The key's influence grows, leaving her in places that forces her to make some really hard decisions. The world building in the book is pretty gradual and takes place through stories and accounts from people around Santa and also through Santa's experiences. I really enjoy the different magical beings and the supernatural elements and all the lore that we get to see in the book. It was really hard at first with the new names and all, but the author had included a glossary at the end of the book, which was very useful while reading. In the beginning of the book, one particular scene reminded me of Little Red Riding Hood, and the scene I'm talking about was really done well and it portrays our MC's main confusion and fear discussed as well wonderfully. There were also another scene towards the end that reminded me of Akatar in many ways, just the setting and the general feel of the characters. Not the story per se, but just the setting. The world and lore and the places we got to see had me very much intrigued. I'm also looking forward to seeing more of this world. When it comes to the characters, Santa is the main focus of the story. The book is about her journey and her destiny as a keeper. So the story is not necessarily a plot driven book. It also has quite a bit of focus on the character and the world she is in. We also have Dandon, who is a mentor and who guides her and equips her for the quest ahead. Their relationship and dynamic was fun to watch because Santa was not afraid to voice her thoughts or challenge Dandon when she had a different opinion. I really liked her fiery and spirited personality that came alive, especially when she was with Dandan. She also has an animal companion called Byand with a very interesting backstory. It was fun to see how different Santa was when dealing with Byand than with Dandan. Byand is a very snappy, sarcastic, and also have a very snarky attitude that really comes through in her conversations and her behavior. She becomes a very important part in helping Santa get to the different places as she enters the second leg of the journey. If there is something I would have loved to see more of, then it would be Santa and her relationship with the tavern owner in the valley. There is mention of her having a much more deeper relationship with him and his family, but we actually don't get to see that, and so I didn't particularly connect with that part. Other than that, we get to see enough interactions with all the other characters to feel connected to her emotions. If I can compare the journey part of the book to another fantasy book, it would be The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. As Nikki from Nikki the Obsessive Bookseller said about The Dragonbone Chair, it's a kind of story you hear around a campfire. That was exactly the kind of feel and pacing the story had. It flows really nicely and has an overall magical feel to it. At first, when I started reading the book, I wasn't expecting to have some really grim or darker moments in it, but the author really surprised me with those scenes, and I was super invested in everything that was happening. Also, the writing is very wonderful and carries you away with the story. The third part of the book had some really cool moments that I would have loved to see more of, especially in greater detail, but it doesn't disappoint with what is given and provides us with enough of all the different parts of the story to make it feel believable. The epilogue was a favorite part of mine, and it gives us a wonderful conclusion to the story. Overall, Beckoning of the Gate by Benjamin J. Ryan is a promising start to an epic tale. This was such a great debut, and I can't wait to see how the author would be proceeding with the series, especially with how the book ended. If you enjoy the story within the story kind of format with headstrong and vulnerable yet strong female characters and snarky animal companions, definitely check out this book. This book has a magical fairy tale kind of feel to it and is very much an immersive read. With beautiful writing and amazing imagery it provides, this is the best and a perfect atmospheric read for Halloween season if you enjoy a more slower kind of quest story. So I gave the book 4 stars. Definitely pick this book up. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye.